Hi, good evening, all of you. Welcome to Tutor.lk and for AAT level 1 classes. And I'll be the lecturer for economics for AAT level 1 for English medium. And a little bit about myself. If I'm giving an introduction, my name is Sankadam Phala, and currently working for a private company, private bank as the capacity of assistant manager. And about my educational qualification, I was studied in Ananda College, and then entered to Columbia University, and there I obtained BSc in physical science. Then I'm a CIMA pass finalist and currently reading for a chartered financial analyst final levels. Right. So that's about myself. So now we are going to start the subject of economics for AAT level 1 students. Hope you everyone will enjoy this session, and today I'm going to give a small introduction about the whole syllabus. Actually, I'm going to give a small recap of the first chapter. I'm not going to do that much of coverage in today's class. So the first chapter we have to look at is, let me share the slides first, then we can move on. So as you can see in the slides, our first chapter for level 1 economics is economics concepts and systems related to business environment. Economic concepts and systems related to business environment. Actually, this is a small area. So I would say out of the whole syllabus, this might count somewhere around 5 to 7%. So there is nothing much to learn in this chapter, but this will give an overall understanding about what is economics and what we are going to learn, and what are the classifications of economics and how the businesses are done. So how to analyze the external environment which the businesses are operating. So this will give an overview of what's the syllabus we are going to cover. So if we jump into the first slide, so first of all, we need to get an understanding about what is economics. So what's the meaning of economics? Actually, the definition is not that much important, but since we are in the syllabus of, or the subject of economics, we should know, we should get an understanding about what we are going to learn in this whole syllabus. So that's economics. So what do you mean by economics? Always we know economics everywhere. In all level subjects also we have economics. In A level we have economics. Some are doing degrees in economics and a PhD in economics. So what is the main idea behind economics? So what's the main focus on economic subjects? So what the theories say is, so if I directly go to the definition, economics is a social science which analyzes the behavior of entities. Economics is a social science which analyzes the behavior of entities. So it is a social science. It is not a technical science. I would say if you take mathematics or science, so mathematics, if you take physics or chemistry, so those are some kind of technical. So there is a clear cut. So so if you were given a question, there's a clear answer. But if you see the economics, it's social science. So you can argue and what you can do is, so you can give an answer and you can give justification for the particular answer based on your views. But another person can give another answer based on his views. So there is no clear cut what is the right answer or the wrong answer, but you can give views. So economics is like that. So it's a social science, and it analyzes the behavior of entities. So what's the meaning of entity is, so if you take, so in our syllabus, the main entity we are going to focus is the businesses. So everybody is, as accountants, we are working in a company or a business. So the main focus is entity. The main focus entity is a business. But if you take as an individual, how he, so we are going to analyze, if you take entity, individual as an entity, so economics, so in that context we can say economic is a social science which analyzes the behavior of individuals. So economics, one aspect of economics is to analyze it analyzes the behavior of individual, how the individuals are behaving, how their buying patterns are, how when they are going to purchase a good, so what is their thinking pattern, what is their behavior, what's the price they are going to pay for that, what is their expectation. Likewise, so it analyzes that, the economics analyzes that aspects as well. So if you take businesses, so we can say economics is a social science which analyzes the behavior of businesses. So what are the businesses? So what are the business activities? So which products they are going to produce? In which markets they are going to sell those products? At which price they are planning to? They should sell their produced goods, and which customer base they should go. So likewise, the company's behavior will also be analyzed in economics. So the government, so if you go to the, if you think the government as an entity, so what we are going to focus in economics there. So what is the policy that the government should make to increase the GDP of the country? So how the government should make business decisions on the interest rate to increase the growth of the economy. So that's the behavior of the government. So that aspect also analyzed in economics. So as well as in international markets. So you can say in South Asian region. So what is the economics of what would be the economics outlook of the South Asian region? So how they are going to behave. So likewise, it can be in terms of international aspect as well. So we can say economics is the social science which will analyze the behavior of individuals. It can be the behavior of individuals, or it can be the behavior of the businesses, or even it can be the behavior of the government. So after you study the economics, the government is making a decisions. Let's say they are planning to increase the tax rate. So after you learn this economics concept, you should be able to identify why they have increased the tax rates. So probably they might be having a shortage of cash. In order to raise some money, they might have increased the tax rates, or they are reducing the tax rate. Why they are doing that? So that's what it means by the analyzing the behavior of a particular entity. In this case, the government is reducing the tax rate. Why they are doing like that? They want to, what you can do is that they want to motivate the individuals or to companies to contribute more towards the business, or more towards the country. So by reducing the tax rates, the companies will be willing to invest more and more money in the particular environment, in the economy. So then after the economics, after I understand the economic concept, you should be able to identify the rationale behind the certain behaviors of certain entities. So if you take individuals, okay, so this is the price level they are going to pay. Okay, let's say price of sugar. For 1 kilogram of sugar, they are willing to pay 85. Why it is 85? Why it is not 95? Why it is not 75? So that's the behavior. So you should be able to analyze and give answers, or should be able to explain why these entities are doing like this. So that's the main idea of economics. So it's the science, it's a particular science which will analyze the behavior of individuals or businesses, or can be government, or can be nations, collective nations. Right. So that's the main idea in the economics. So you are going to analyze the behavior of the entities. And so one thing you need to make clear about the thing is, so one concept in economics is, so you will have always have to make choices. You will always have to make choices. So I will come to choices at a later point of time. So you need to, so since we are going to analyze the behavior of entities, so the entities might have alternatives, or entities might have options they can do. Okay, I will take simple example. Let's say there is a company and they want to do a new project, and they have identified two products that can be produced as the new project, but they can only do one product as the new project. So that means they have the different options, different alternatives, but they have to make the choice. They have to make the choice which option they are going to select. So they have different alternatives. Out of those alternatives, they have to make a choice. So this is what I'm going to do. So by analyzing, so by learning economics, you should be able to say, okay, so now they have selected product A rather than going for product B. Why they have go for product A rather than going for product B? So that's what we are going to learn in economics. So this will basically analyze the behavior of individuals, businesses, and certain government. Okay, so as financial professionals, so in the main focus is to become accountants. So as an accountant, you should have thorough understanding about the external environment or the external economy, how the external economy works. Then only you will be able to make good business decisions. As financial accountants, you should have thorough understanding about economics, how the external entities are behaving. So if you know the behavior only, you can make good decisions. So by understanding their behavior, you know, okay, in the future they are going to do like this. So if you know those things, you can act accordingly. So that's the main idea behind economics, and why as accountants we are going to learn economics. So as accountants, you should have thorough understanding about how the overall economy works. So the economics can be broadly divided into two main areas: micro and macro. Micro and macro. So the macroeconomics is, so I told you the economics is basically you are analyzing the behavior, analyzing the behavior of a particular entity. So in macroeconomics, what we are analyzing is, it can be individuals. So the entity can be individuals. So what is the behavior of the individual? Or it can be a single company. It can be a single company. But so this is the behavior of the company. Behavior of a household, behavior of a person who is living in your house. So what is his the purchasing pattern? How he is going to determine the price level he is willing to pay for a particular product? So that's in microeconomics. So we are focusing on single entities. Single entities. It could be a individual, or it could be a business, or it can be a particular organization or a government body, a single body. So microeconomics is a small segment of economics. So you should be able to understand how an individual will behave once you launch a product. So that comes under microeconomics. So if you take the macroeconomics, so you are trying to analyze the overall economy. So you are not going to focus on each and every individual and each and every company, but you are taking all individual as a whole. Then you are trying to get an understanding about the behavior of all the entities. So that means, so let's say you are talking about the interest rate of the country. So that comes under macroeconomics. Why? The interest rates is something which will affect to the overall economy. So it is not something that is only affected to a single person. So it will affect the overall economy. It will affect the overall businesses. It will affect the all the individuals. So likewise. So in macroeconomics, we are taking the entire economy as a single unit. So entire economy as the single unit. Then it is called the macroeconomics. So the microeconomics, we are focusing on single basis. It can be a single firm. It can be a single individual. It can be a single business, single households, but macroeconomics focusing on the overall economy. It takes a country as a whole. Right. This is the main area so this is the fundamental thing in the economics. So you need to understand what is needs and what is wants. So the main difference in needs and wants. So if you take a person like you and I, so the needs means the things that are essential for a human being. So things that are essential. Needs means things that are essential for the survival of a human being. So what are the examples? If you take, so I have given you some example, food. So without food, can you live? No. Without clothes, can you live? Technically, no. So shelter, so it is a fundamental requirement. So these can be regarded as fundamental requirements. So those has to be there. If you want to live, those has to be there. But on the other hand, wants means the different ways. So you have needs. I took example as food, clothing, and shelter. So those are the needs. In order to fulfill those requirements, or fulfill those needs, so you have several ways or methods. So those ways and methods you can use to fulfill the needs are called the wants. So if you take foods, okay, so let's say you are planning for the dinner. So dinner is a need, so you have to take the dinner. So what are the wants? You want to eat from maybe McDonald's. You want to maybe go to the Burger King. You want to go to the what do you call it? Maybe for Indian likewise. So you have several options. So you have unlimited wants, but the need is only one. The need is the food. You have to take some amount of food, but you have thousands of ways, or thousands of you might not be thousands, can be 5 or 6, 10 likewise. So there can be several wants. You take food. So the wants can be regarded as the ways and means of satisfying one's need is referred to as wants. For example, I can give you food can be fulfilled by rice, bread, roti, string hopper, likewise. So for a single need, you need to understand there can be thousands of ways of wants. So first thing you need to understand is what's the meaning of needs and what's the meaning of wants. So you should understand needs are the things that are essential, that must be, that has to be there for the survival of an individual. But wants, on the other hand, these are the ways you can use to fulfill the needs. So that's the difference between needs and wants. So if you further talk about the needs, so if you talk about the needs are limited. So you can list down. So I talk only very few needs. So as a human beings, you need food, maybe water, shelter, and also some clothes. So those are the basic needs. So those are the fundamental needs. So those can be regarded as the essentials. So those are limited. We know those are limited. So the needs are limited. There are only very few needs for an individual to survive, and those has to be there. Those has to be there. Those must be fulfilled if you want to live. Those must be fulfilled if you want to live. So that is the primary objective of any person. So the needs has to be there. So that's why we call it, it should be a primary thing to achieve. You should obtain the needs, and it cannot be influenced through advertising. So let's say clothing. So the clothing is something, so you have to wear something, but wherein something is the need, but wherein something cannot be influenced by the advertising. But what you are going to wear can be advertised, can be influenced through advertising. So whether you are going to buy it from the local market, or whether you are going to buy it from the payment, or whether you are going to buy it from model or any Tilakavardhana textile, so it can be influenced through advertising, but the needs is the same. But the wants is, so if you take clothes, whether you are going to buy it from the payment, or whether you are going to buy it from maybe a shop from MC, or maybe from model or whatever, so it can be influenced. It can be, so from where you are going to buy the cloth, that option can be influenced by the advertising. But the basic need cannot be influenced. It cannot be influenced by the advertising. So the need is the clothing. That's it. So the wants are not must. The wants are not must. If you take needs, those has to be there. So that in that context, we can say those are secondary. So first focus should be for needs. So the wants, you can say there are unlimited ways you can fulfill the needs. So that's why we call wants are unlimited. So the basic issue, the basic problem that the economics is revolving is the idea of unlimited wants. So one aspect is, so the people or the individual or the companies might be having unlimited wants. So that is one problem the companies or the individuals are facing. So the main this is the main factor which will influence the behavior of a particular entity. They are having unlimited wants. Every entity is having unlimited wants. Now we will go to the next slide. Resources, on the other hand, so there are needs and wants. Now we will go to the resources side. So what can you say about the resources? Resource. So if so, I'm going to think about take a company as an example. For a company, a resource mean something. So that, let's say if you take a company, what they are doing, they will buy inputs and they will process it and they will sell it to the customer. So that is the business process. So in order to implement that process, what does the company want? They want resources. In order to implement the process, they need resources. So the resources can be in various ways, but the main thing you need to understand is, in order to fulfill the production process of a company, in order to fulfill the production process of a company, they need resources. So if you go to the resources, the definition, anything that can be utilized in producing goods and services are named as resources, also known as production inputs, factors of production. So if you take a company, they are utilizing certain inputs and process those and sell it to the customer. So when they are doing the production process, it can be a production process or it can be they are delivering a service. So that process, in order to carry out that process, whether they are producing or delivering the service, they need resources. So whatever the things they are going to utilize in order to produce goods and services are called resources. So resources can be broadly subdivided into two areas: economic resources and non-economic resources. So points to note here is resource is something that the companies are utilizing for the production process, or it can be for the delivery of the service. So those are the resources. So the resources, the main classification of resources is, one is the economic resources and the other one is the non-economic resources. Now we are going to look at what's the meaning of economic resource and a non-economic resource. So now we understand from the previous slide, we understand for any company or for an individual, they will have limited needs, but they will have unlimited wants. They will have unlimited wants. That thing you need to keep in mind. The individuals or the companies or any entity will have unlimited wants. Now we are talking about the resources. For a company, they need resources. For an individual, they need resource. Right. So now we are going to discuss about the classification of resources. So it can be broadly divided into economic resources and non-economic resources. So now we will look at what's the main difference between economic and non-economic resources. So if you take the economic resources, so the definition it says, so these are very basic concepts. So those are straightforward. So the economic resources are, these are the resources that are limited in supply. These are the resources that are limited in supply. So that means these resources are limited. So you don't have, if you take a company, the resources are limited, but previously I told you they will have unlimited wants. But if you take the economic resources, these are limited. So if you take examples, vehicles, so that is something you are utilizing for the production process. Vehicles are limited. If you take buildings are limited. If you are utilizing labor, it is limited. The money you have in your cash account, it is limited. So any resource that is limited in supply is called economic resources. So now you need to understand, when it comes to resources, there are economic resources. These are the resources which are in limited supply. So if you talk about the non-economic resources, these are the resources which is unlimitedly available for any business. You can, these resources are not confined, or these are not limited in supply. So non-economic resources, you will have any amount of resources. So for an example, if you take the sunlight, it is unlimited. So and in daytime you will have, anyway you will have sunlight. There is no limitation as such. The rainwater, so you will have unlimited rainwater. Fresh air is always there. So the main difference is, the resources, the economic resources are limited in availability, but the non-economic resources are not limited. So that means you will have any amount of non-economic resources. So the main, so when it comes to the payments, so in order to obtain the economic resources, if you talk about that, the companies have to pay some amount of money. So if you take buildings, you have to pay some amount to construct the building. In order to acquire machinery, you need to pay some amount. In order to buy raw materials, you need to pay some amount. In order to buy a vehicle, you have to pay some amount of money. In order to buy labor, you have to pay for the labor. So the one factor of one feature of the economic resources are, in order to acquire the economic resources, you have to pay something. But non-economic resources, these things, since it is freely, so it is it is not limited, and it's freely available in the nature, so it is free of cost. So you don't have, the companies do not have to pay anything for non-economic resources. So those are freely available in the nature. But our main focus is for economic resources. These are the resources which are limited in the society or limited in an economy. If you take buildings, machinery, land is limited. So you are having certain amount of land in the country. So raw materials, yes, it is limited. You don't have unlimited raw materials in your business. So machinery, you don't have unlimited amount of machinery. Labor, yes, you have the fixed amount of labor. So likewise, it's limited. So since it is limited, you have to pay some amount of money, something, some incentive to acquire those resources. So that those are called the economic resources. On the other hand, non-economic resources are freely available, and those are not limited to any quantity. So those are freely available. But keep in mind, our main focus will go to economic resources. Right. So now we will go to the factors of production. So these are also called factors of production or production factor inputs. So everything are same. So here we are going to talk about what are the resources required for a business to do their process. What are the resources they require to carry out their production process? So the factors of production are nothing but these are the inputs or the resources which will be utilized by the company for the production process. So there are four main factors. One is called land, second is labor, third is capital, fourth is entrepreneurship. Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. So those can be regarded as the factors of production or the factor inputs. So these four must be there in order to run a business, in order to produce a product or to deliver a service. So these four things have to be there. So if you take land, what we are going to talk in the land, in the area of land, is land. So this is the first factor of production that companies require. So the definition is these resources can be obtained from the nature. So lands, so these are the inputs which will come from the nature. These will come from the nature. So as an example, if you can take land, water, and minerals. So land is available in the nature, water is available in the nature, and minerals also are available in the nature. So the land. So another thing you need to understand is this land will be classified into two main areas: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So I will first take non-renewable resources. Okay, non-renewable resources means, let's say you utilized once. Let's say we take oil. Once you utilized 1 barrel of oil, it is hard to replace that 1 barrel. So that means the non-renewable inputs are not available in unlimited supply. So once you utilized, so it is hard to replace. That's what I am saying. So let's say if you use 1 barrel of petrol or 1 barrel of oil, so the 1 barrel of oil now, so it is gone now. So it is hard to replace that 1 barrel of oil again. So those type of resources are called non-renewable resources. So non-renewable resources are also coming under land. Why? Those are the things which are coming from the nature. So any input that comes from the nature is called the land. So on the other hand, renewable sources means once you utilize it, again you can easily replace it. So if you utilize water from let's say you are taking water from a well. So let's say you are taking 1,000 liters, then again in few minutes you will get 1,000 liters again. So it is not limited in supply. So the renewable resources can be replenished very easily. So once you take 100 liters, so in few minutes again you will have 100 liters there. So those can be regarded as renewable sources. On the other hand, non-renewable resources are you can't replace easily. So as an example, if you take minerals, oil, so those can be regarded as examples for non-renewable resources. So those cannot be replaced easily. Right. So that is one aspect. So the land. So the first factor of production is the land. So the land comprises of the inputs which the companies are getting from the nature. The inputs that the companies are getting from the nature. As an example, land, water, minerals, petroleum, likewise. Right. The second factor input is the labor. The second factor is the labor. Labor means it can be physical labor and the mental effort of human beings. So it can be physical labor. Let's say physical labor means, okay, in order to do carry out a business, you need 100 labors. Also, you need some amount of skills. So that skill aspect also should be considered in labor. So both the physical availability as well as the skill. So the second production input is the labor. So in order to carry out a business, you should have some amount of labor. So now we have discussed two factor inputs. One is land. So these are the inputs you will get from the nature, and the second one being the labor. So as you know, labor, it should be in terms of physical as well as mental. So then for the production, you need a third input. We call it capital. So these are the things. So earlier we discussed the inputs we are getting from the nature. Here we are talking about the resources which are man-made. So for an example, I can take vehicles, buildings, property, equipments. So these can be regarded, so the computers. So those are man-made things. So these things also should be there for the production process. So what are the factors of production we have discussed so far? Land. So the land comprises of the things which you are getting from the nature. The second we discussed, the labor. Labor is, it's straightforward, the availability of human resources. The third one is the capital. Capital means the man-made resources. So it is the third factor of production. So for an example, tools, equipment, machineries. So one thing you need to keep in mind is these will depreciate over the time. Okay, so what does that mean? So in accounting, you must have learned about depreciation. So here what they are saying is, let's say you bought an equipment in last year. You have bought an equipment last year, but when it comes to the end of this year, the value should have come down. Why it is coming down? You are utilizing that equipment, so the efficiency level must have come down by the end of this year. So that's why we are calling those are depreciating. The value of the capital is depreciating over the time. If you bought a vehicle, so let's say you could have bought it for, let's say, 5 million. After 2 years, the market value can be somewhere around 4 million. So what's the difference? 1 million. It's the depreciation of the value. So the capital you need to understand, since these are man-made, those will be depreciate over the time. So the entrepreneurship. Okay, now we have discussed four or rather three inputs. So you need to have land in the sense natural inputs, and the second being the labor. Okay, you have man-made the capital, and that means the man-made resources. So in order to uh, you should coordinate all these three elements for the production process. You need to take certain business decisions, and you should be more innovative for coming up with new products. So that aspect also have to be there. There should be some person who is taking the risk and who is making the business decision, and who is taking risks. So that comes as the entrepreneurship. So that these are the people who will make business decisions and who will take risk of the business, and they should have some innovative ideas for coming up with new products. So the entrepreneurship is a person or a skill who will coordinate all the three other factors in order to smoothly run off the business process. So once all these four factors are there combinedly, now you can easily do the production process or the delivery of service. So these four are called the factors of production or the inputs for production. If these four are available in one single point, then we can say it's a business. So in order to run a business, you need four factors of production. One is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So now I have to talk about what are the factors of production. So we have talked about the needs and wants, and what are the resources, what are the factors of production. Then we will go for, okay, so business. So let's take let's say you are running a business. The business is considered to be a separate entity. So business is considered to be a separate entity from the owners. So that we have learned from the financial accounting aspect. So the business is separate from the other from the owners. So now we know the businesses are utilizing the factors of production. Businesses are utilizing the factors of production called land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So when they are utilizing these resources, in return, the company or the businesses should pay something for these factors. Why? They are utilizing these resources, right? So they are utilizing the land, they are utilizing the labor, they are utilizing the capital, they are utilizing the entrepreneurship. So to the people who are providing, or the company should pay for these factors. Otherwise, so nothing will come for free for the companies. So when the companies are utilizing, I will take the first example, I will take the easiest one. So when the company is utilizing the labor for the people who are providing the labor, the company should pay wage for them. What is the incentive for the labor? It is called wage. The company, so it's obvious, right? When the company is deploying labors, they have to pay wages and salaries. So it is the price paid for the labor. The company is paying wage. Land. Right. Okay. So let's say the company has put up a building. Company has put up a building, and the land is not owned by them. So they have hired the land. For that land, what the company has to pay? The company should pay a rent for the person who is providing the land. So the price paid for the land is called the rent. So the incentive for the land is rent. So the price paid for the land is called rent. So the capital, from the capital means man-made resources. So the man-made resources means the company has to acquire these things, acquire these resources. They need to buy vehicles, they need to buy a building, they need to buy a equipment. So for that matter, they need money. They need money. So when they are raising money, what do they want to pay? When they are raising money, they want to pay the interest for the providers of the money. For the providers, for the finance providers, they have to pay the interest. So the price paid for the capital is interest. Why it is called interest? Capital are man-made resources. Man-made resources, let's say vehicles, buildings, property, plant, and equipment. So in order to buy those, you need money. When the company is raising money, there is a person who is always providing money. Let's say a bank. So the bank, what's the return the company has to pay? It is the interest. So on the other hand, entrepreneurship is the person who owns the business. So that is the person who is bringing the decision making ability, and who is taking the risk of the business, and uh, who is having some innovative ideas. So what's the return he is expecting? He will expect profits from the business. He will expect profit from the business. So these are the price paid for the different factors of production. So if you take land, you have to pay rent. If you take labor, the companies have to pay wages. If you take the capital, the companies have to pay interest. If you take entrepreneurship, the companies have to pay profits. So these are the expectation of the factors of productions. Right. Then we will go for these terminologies. So the scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. Scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. So earlier we discussed, so we will consider about businesses. Let's say business, we are going to talk about businesses. So it can be a business or an individual. Always they have unlimited wants. True that they have limited needs, but you need to keep in mind they have unlimited wants. But now you know they need some factors. If you take businesses, they need some inputs or factors of production or the resources to run the business. So do they have unlimited resources? Yes, on one hand they are having unlimited wants, but on the other hand they are having only limited resources, isn't it? So there is always there is an imbalance between the limited resources and the unlimited wants. When the resources, when the wants exceeds the available resources, then there is scarcity. Scarcity means there is a shortage. Since the resources are limited and the companies have unlimited wants, always there is scarcity. Always there is a shortage or a scarcity. So this is considered to be the main fundamental problem of economics. It can be individual, it can be for a business, it can be for a government. So the main problems, the main economic fundamental problem is the scarcity. Scarcity is rising due to the limited resources and unlimited wants. Right. Now, then it comes to the choices. Choices means, okay, so now the company, if you take a company will have only limited resources. Let's say they are having 100 employees, they are having one vehicle, one building, and they are having a small land area, and also there is one owner for the business. So these are the resources they are having, but they will have unlimited wants. They want to go to this market, they want to produce this product, they want to produce that product, they have identified another new product they need to go ahead with, but they will have unlimited wants. But due to the lack of due to the limited availability of resources, they can't carry out all the alternatives they have identified. So then what they need to do? Then what's the next option? let's say, okay, let's say the companies, let's say, we'll take a simple example. The company is having 50 employees. Forget about other factors. The company is having 150 employees. Sorry, 50 employees. And they have identified four projects. They have identified four projects, A, B, C, and D. Each project will require 50 employees. Each project will require 50 employees. So the availability of labor is 50 employees, and they have identified four projects, and each will require 50 employees. Can they do all the projects? Can they do all the projects? But they want to do all the projects. Why? The projects are profitable, so they need to grab the opportunities. But due to the lack of or the limited availability of resources, they can't go ahead with all the identified projects. So what's the next option? They need to rank the choices. They need to do a ranking. Okay, this is the best project. This is the second best project. This is the third best project. This is the fourth best project. Once there is scarcity, always you must do a ranking according to your preferences. So for me, it can be the ranking can be differ. For you, it can be a different ranking. So if I say the ranking is A, B, C, and D, another person can say B, A, D, and C. So that is his preference. So that ranking may vary according to their requirements, according to their taste, and those kind of things. So once, what you need to understand is, once there is scarcity, when there is scarcity, always you have to make the best choice. Before you make the best choice, you need to rank them accordingly, as you see as the best alternative. So you have identified four projects, then you need to do a ranking based on your preferences. So that's why called the scarcity results in choices. People have to make choices because of the scarcity of the resources. I gave you the example. You are having 50 employees and you have identified four projects. All will require 50. That means project A will require 50, B require 50, C and D also require 50-50. So since the availability of resources are 50 employees, you can't do all the four identified projects. So if you want to do select one, you need to rank those projects according to your requirement. So why it happens? Because there is scarcity. Then you need to make a choice out of those four. Out of those four, you need to make a choice. So how you are going to make the choice? According to your requirement, according to your taste, according to your maybe profitability. So it can vary depending on person to person, depending on company to company, depending on their objective, depending on their taste, depending on their strategy. Those the ranking process will vary, and then the choice will vary, right? So always the scarcity is that you need to keep in mind. The scarcity is the imbalance between the limited resources and unlimited needs and wants. This is considered to be the fundamental problem of economics. We have already discussed it. Scarcity results in choices. People have to make choices because of the scarcity of resources. Right. So I have given you, I have talked a small example, but I will give you, so here I will discuss a small example. A student is having 1,000. Money is limited him. So this is the total amount he is having in hand. But he has several wants. So he has several wants. Okay. These are called alternative users, options. So he's having several options. So what he can do? He can settle the tuition fee. Okay, that is one option. Purchasing a book. That's another option. He can deposit that 1,000 in a bank, or he can buy some meal by using that 1,000. So now let's assume that each will require 900. Each will require 900. Can he do all these four? He can't. So now what he want to do? He want, according to his preference, So that has to be keep in your mind. According to his preference, or according to the value he add to these alternatives, he must rank these four according to his preference. So he might rank like this: purchasing a book, deposit in a bank, settling the tuition fee, buying a meal. So what is the first preference we gave? Deposit in a bank. Sorry, so I will repeat. So so his preferences would be like this: buying a meal, deposit in a bank, purchasing a book, settling a tuition fee. So his first preference is buying a meal. His second preference is deposit in a bank. Third preference, purchasing a book. For final being settling a tuition fee. Now he has done the ranking. Based on the ranking, he has to make the choice. He will go for the best option. It can be according to his taste, according to his behavior, according to value he set into these options. So likewise. So it might vary to person. So if you are having 1,000, so the ranking can vary. Based on the ranking only, you are making the choice. So the choice will vary according to the personality. Right. So then you have to make a choice there. In the same way, companies are facing the same problem of scarcity. So what is the scarcity? The problem of scarcity? The companies are having limited resources. That means they are having limited labor, limited land, limited capital, and limited entrepreneurship. But they will have unlimited bonds. They need to produce product A, product B, product C. They want to go to this market, that market. So they will have a lot of alternatives. So they will have a lot of wants. They have to make choices. Why? They have limited resources. Basic questions that the companies have to answer are: what to produce? Okay, that's why I said. So they are having limited resources. They have identified thousands of products that they need to produce, but they can't do all the production. They have to make a choice there, and about what quantities they need to produce, and how to produce, how they are going to produce it, whether they are going to use employees more, or whether they are going to use machinery more, how to produce, and to whom to produce, to whom they are going to produce, what is the customer base, to in which market they are going to sell that. So those are the basic economic questions that the companies are facing. Because of this reason, the companies have to make choices. Right. So now we talk about scarcity. We know choices. We know now the time to discuss the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. Okay. Right. I'll go through the meaning of opportunity cost. Then I'll give you a simple example. Then you can understand it better way. So we'll read it. When making choice between alternatives. Okay. When making choice between alternatives, the process is rank all the available options according to their value and select the best possible option. Right. I clearly I told that. So that part we have already done. When you are making the choice, you have to do a ranking according to your preferences. So according to your value or the preferences or your taste, you have to do a ranking. Out of the ranking, after doing the ranking, you have to select the best possible option. So the first in the ranking, right? Then there is some option is they are in at the second place, right? So let's say you have four alternatives. And when after you are done with the ranking, you are selecting the first one. Then there is always a second option there. And third and fourth, right? So the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative foregone, right? Okay, so you are selecting the first in the ranking. There is a second, so you are selecting the first one and you are foregoing the second one. So that the second one is the next best alternative. So when you are foregoing the next best alternative, you are giving a certain value for that second best alternative, right? So that value is called the opportunity cost. That value is called the opportunity cost. So you need to keep in mind, so it does not necessarily be a monetary value. So sometimes you can assign a monetary value there, but in sometimes you can, it might be a unit, it might be in unit terms, or it might be in value terms. So it should not necessarily be a monetary value, right? So the other thing you need to keep in mind is opportunity cost is subjective and sometimes cannot be measured in monetary terms. Why we are saying it is subjective, opportunity cost? So we told, when there are four, let's say there are four alternatives based on individuals. Okay, so I'm ranking those. So I'm ranking according to my preferences, right? According to my preferences, I'm ranking, and I'm assigning certain values. First one, the value is this. Second one, the value is this. Third one, value is this. Fourth value is this. Another person might give, his ranking might be differ. So his value is first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. So my opportunity cost means I am foregoing my second option. But this person, he is foregoing the second option, but that second option is not my second option. So because of that reason, the opportunity cost is subjective. Depending on person to person, depending on company to company, it will vary. So that's why we are saying it is subjective. So opportunity cost you need to keep in mind. So it should not be necessarily be a monetary value. It can be in unit terms. In unit terms, in the sense, let's say, okay, I will take simple example. You are having 50 laborers. You are having 50 employees, and you have identified two products. By utilizing this labor, you can produce 50 units from A and 40 units from B. So according to my preference, I prefer to produce A. So I am producing 50 units from A. So then I have to forego the second option. That means 40 units from B. So my opportunity cost is 40 units of B. So, but I can't give a monetary value there. So, but I have given a value in terms of units. So I am foregoing 40 units of B there. So that's the meaning of opportunity cost. So in some cases, the opportunity cost is zero. So why this opportunity cost there? How this arises? So because of the scarcity. Because of the scarcity, we have to make choices. When the choices are made, I have to forego a certain option. So that the next best alternative I am foregoing is called the opportunity cost. So when there is no scarcity of resources, do we have to make a choice? Not really. So we can do all the options. When the resources are when the resources are not scarce, that means there is no scarcity of resources, I don't want to make any choice. So I can easily do all the identified alternatives. So there is no opportunity cost there. So I can do all the identified options. Another place where the opportunity cost is zero, when the resources have no alternative use. When the resources have no alternative use. So that means, what's the definition of opportunity cost? The value of the next best alternative foregone. So if there has to be opportunity cost, there should be another option we are foregoing. So if we don't have another option that we are going to forego, so there can't be a opportunity cost, right? So when there is only one use for a particular resource, that implies there is no opportunity cost. So we are not foregoing anything. So we have only one option, so we have to go there. That's it. So there is no opportunity cost when you are using that resource. When unemployed resources are used, unemployed means, okay, currently the resources are limited. Unemployed resources means idling resources are available. What's the meaning of idling resources? So so there is no limitation for that particular resource. So that means you have unlimited resource there. So that implies there is no scarcity of resources. Because of that reason, you don't want to make any choice. Since there is no choice, there is no opportunity cost. There is no opportunity cost. So hope you got all the areas clear so far. So today I'm going to wind up the session from this point. So since this is the first class, I don't want to go that much further into the other areas of the introduction of the economics. So I'm going to stop from this point. Hope you all enjoy the lesson, and you must have grabbed the concepts of unlimited wants